This episode of Crappie USA TV is brought to you by Cornfield Crappie Gear. Visit them at cornfieldcrappiegear.com. Percy Priest Lake is just 10 miles from downtown Nashville. Both the lake and the dam are named in honor of former Tennessee Congressman James Percy Priest and feature over 14,000 acres of water. The land surrounding Percy Priest is public property, and there are 10,000 acres set aside for wildlife management. The reservoir is popular among sailors and yacht owners, but of course the fishing is what has brought us here today. This is where we find the 2020 Crappie USA Pro Division champions, Dude Maddux and Brian Oldham. It is this combination of youth and experience that helped Dude and Brian claim the title this year at the Green River Lake Classic. These two friends have a lot to say about life in today's episode of Crappie USA.
Okay, I'm Brian Oldham from Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
I'm Harold Maddux, known in the fishing world as Dude, from Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
I had my own lawn care company for probably 20 years or 20 so years. I sold out about 4 or 5 years ago. I've worked 2 or 3 jobs all the time, just whatever to make money. We didn't care. We just sell, do whatever.
I worked at Ford Glass Plant for 33 years. I retired in 1994 after 33 years for Ford at the age of 51. I've been retired ever since, and I just knew that something was going to happen. I wasn't going to be able to retire because I wanted to so bad. But I did, and a lot of crappie have paid the price for that.
14 years when we fished our first tournament. I remember that because when we was at our first classic, it was on Kentucky Lake. The wife come down with my daughter, she's now 14, and that was the first time I seen her walk. When I left, Monday, wasn't walking, and when I was there, I seen her come across the field. She was walking to me. That's how long ago it was. 14 years. We've been running together about 16.
No, something like that.
It's probably about 16 years when we met each other.
Yes, I always had that aspiration to be the oldest one to ever win a classic, and I was getting there real fast. Didn't know whether I ever would or not, and I wanted to be the team that had the widest age spread between us. And there's 35 years difference in our age, and I was 78 years old, and I think we probably accomplished that this year. At least I think we did anyway. Be my age, I'm just thankful to be out going like I am and meeting up with Brian. So it has been a blessing. Been a blessing to me, it sure has.
When me and Dude met, first thing he told me, he said, if you ain't willing to work, you ain't gonna fish with me. And I thought, what does that mean? And the first time I ever went sinking with him, he topped 3 big old sycamores at a bank in the middle of Mount Juliet at 9 o'clock at night that he had permission to cut with a bow saw. He got up this high with a ladder, and the rest of it he's scaling, like pulling himself up there. And I'm telling you, I'm not talking about them trees like outside now. I'm talking big, not little sycamores. I'm talking monsters. And I looked at him, I told him, I said, when he got down on that ground, I told him, I said, well, if this relationship's gonna work, I'm never gonna be the tree man. I'm the ground man. I'll be your pack mule. I ain't climbing no tree. That was 16 years ago. 16 years ago.
I've been fishing on it since impoundment. I came up with the lake, and it came up, they impounded it, came up with it, yeah. And I don't remember the years in the 60s, early 60s.
Yeah, and I started here when I was I've been here my whole life, so since I'm 45, and probably since about 3 or 4 years old, my dad would cook me first time. Once you get somebody out here on this boat, I use this a lot in ministry. I'm not a preacher, but I'm a fisherman. God's given me the gift to fish. That's my talent. I don't know why. You don't hold it to yourselves. You bring people fishing, but once they get on this boat, they have to listen to what I have to say, because they can't run. The only place they can go is they can swim back, or they can jump on this bank and don't know where they're at. But once you got them in your boat.
Yeah, if you don't want to listen, get out and walk.
We met, well, it was crazy. When I got married, my new wife, she was a Christian, but I'm telling you guys, I was raised to work hard all week and fish Saturday, Sundays, right? I wasn't planning on coming to church. I was planning on keep on fishing on Saturdays and Sundays. The preacher who married my wife and me invited us to a friend's day at a church, and I just decided to go. That preacher had done called him to come meet me. It was pure coincidence that I sit across from this guy who likes to fish at this church I ain't never been to, he don't go to. I just thought it was all, wow. I was like, that was pretty nice to get to talk to somebody about fishing. That's how it all started, just because somebody had interest in me to save my soul, and him to have the willingness to do it.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Cornfield Crappie Gear Live Sweep, Live Image Transducer Control. Deploys and stows with the trolling motor, now mounted on the Terrova trolling motor. Handheld key fob remote with wired pedals or upgrade to wireless pedals. Complete kit with everything to mount onto the Terrova trolling motor at cornfieldcrappiegear.com.
We're a pretty much a one-trick pony. We one pole, single pole fish, jig fish. It don't matter what lake we've been to across the country, it's worked on every lake.
I can say that sunshine, clouds, weather, nothing really determines what I use to fish. I just get out and put on what I think they're supposed to hit, and if they don't hit, then I put on what they're not supposed to hit, and they'll generally always hit one of the two. We were kind of the oddballs on the tournament trail when we first started fishing tournaments 14 years ago. We were the one-polers with all the spider riggers you see out in the lake, but if you go to tournaments now and look, you see a whole lot more single polers than you do the spider riggers. It's deadly, it can be deadly.
We have been fishing with Leland Lures crappie magnets, and we've been with that company since we started tournament fishing. And that's probably been about 14 years now. 14 years. He's been with us since then, and what we're catching on days, you know, I'm fishing a crappie magnet. I caught some on a slab magnet earlier. Certain times of year when they're more active, we'll catch them on slab curlies. We're using his jig heads, which is a double cross 1/8 ounce jig head. It works. He's got one of the greatest color selections in the country.
And we use these quite often. This is a crappie magnet slab bite. That thing is the real deal. In the wintertime, you don't have to use them as much, but they are deadly in the summertime. I just don't go down in the summertime without using them. But that slab bite is something new, just been on the market about 6-8 months. But that thing is a real deal. It works.
It dissolves slowly and it stays on the hook real good. So it does good.
Great bait.
And also, we've been using these B&M poles. These are the Buck Graphite 6.5 foot. It's a good action for what we do. We just fish off the front of the boat. This is a 2-piece rod, very inexpensive, and this is actually a B&M reel I'm fishing with here. We take our structure building serious, and we've had classics on Kentucky Lake. Well, it's a little over 2-hour drive for us, and we've hauled trees and pallets and stakes all the way to Kentucky Lake just to fish 2 or 3 times a year. But when we put a piece of structure out, we know what it is, we know where it is, and we don't have to just spend all our time searching for it. We can just then go check for fish. We could actually go put stuff in areas where nobody had stuff, and then we have something to ourselves. We get to keep all our structure building stuff in my house. My wife's very lenient on me. His likes a little nicer.
See that fish right there, guys? See him floating on top of the water? Come out of that deep water, let me show you a trick. He won't never go back down until I do this. That's a little trick that I learned. Catch a fish coming out of this deep water, they get to bends or something, they come to the top, and they'll lay there. They will not go back down. So you take your little finger and run down their throat, and when that air escapes, they're gone. You save the fish.
What it is their bladder expands, their swim bladder. So it blows up in their belly and then it comes up in their throat. So when he runs his hand through it, pushes his bladder back out of their throat. And they can go back down. Once they get down, they can pressurize themselves again.
This is the way we tie it, tie our line. Put your jig like this right here. Wrap it around your finger like that. Hold it, twirl it about 5 times. It's what I go, 5, 6, doesn't make a difference. Bring your line right back through the eye of the hook like that. Pull it, slip it down. That's about as fast a knot as you can tie. Cut your excess line off, and you're through. Now, I have no clue what you call this knot, but it works, and it's easy and it's fast. I learned to tie this knot back 55 years ago on Center Hill Lake bass fishing at nighttime. I get caught out without any lights at nighttime. I learned to tie it with my tongue. I could tie that knot right there with my tongue with my eyes shut, probably faster than you could use your eyes and tie it. Been using it for a long time. It's pretty good knot.
The live scope thing, everybody's looking down, oh man, it hurts my neck. So then we started making mounts that you could adjust up, or taller mount. Now you got the mounts that are so big and they're taking up so much room on the front of the deck. We got the idea to build the one that lays down. So that's our newest safety feature. You know, you can get your mounts up tall where you can see them, but yet lay them down so you can see where you're going. We want to build the best quality mount in the USA that we can build.
We joined Crappie USA together. He never had fish. Well, he may have fished one years ago. I don't know if it was a Crappie USA.
It wasn't a Crappie USA.
But yeah, just fishing tournaments, that was we decided to go do it. And you know, we had a big learning curve on tournament fishing because we consider ourselves as meat fishermen, trying to get a limit each time we go, you know, because, you know, we sink huge trees and things that we can catch the most numbers off of, and we found out is, we wasn't in the league, was we? It was like they don't.
It was a learning curve. It was a learning curve. And out of the tournaments we fish, we've averaged 5th place or better out of all the tournaments we fished. And I kept telling Brian, I said, when we missed that one in Columbus with about 3 ounces, I said, that's as close we're ever going to get. I didn't really think that we'd have time, because like I say, 79 years old, I thought I was going to run out of time. I didn't really think that we would ever win one. We'd got so close so many times. So I had a good feeling about this Green River tournament. And it was because these tournaments that we fished this year that we had won them all. Why not give it a try? I said, we've won 5, let's just go over and make it number 6. And we did.
This year, 5, other than the Classic.
Yeah, 5. Won all of them. I always, even after the interview, after we'd won that, said I always wanted to be the oldest individual to win a Classic, and I always wanted to be the team that had the biggest age spread. And I think we probably accomplished that. I was 78 when we won it, and there's 35 years difference between our age, and so mission accomplished.
This guy right here, he may be 78, but he ain't your normal 78. Well, he's 79 now. He was 78 at the Classic. Yeah. Oh, he's a boat gazelle is what he is. You got to do something different. You just have to, you can't be with everybody else, because what I've learned is if you're splitting fish, you ain't gonna win it. We did not.
No, we had that's strange on that Green River thing. We had fished 5 tournaments last year and won all 5 of them. And I told Brian, I said, how do you feel about Green River, that Classic? We hadn't been away on a Classic in a while. He said, well, whatever you want to do, dude. I said, well, we've never been on a lake, but we'll go check it out. I just have a good feeling about it. And I did. I had a good feeling about it because we'd been pretty successful all year long. And went up there and one trip, fished 2 days, and caught some fish and found a ledge that we felt like could win that tournament. We went back to that ledge. Of course, I went on the ledge and caught a fish. And Brian, I was going to let down again, but Brian said, you ain't letting down again. No, quit. Well, I started to let down, so he just got my trolling motor run over my line. He said, I said you're not letting down again, so I didn't. We got on that ledge and run that ledge 2 days in a row, and that's where we caught a fish. Had hardly no structure at all on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you godly men or not, but here's what I can tell you on that tournament right there. That's the first tournament out of 14 years that I've ever prayed for in my life to do good in. Chris Mann, you've heard of him in the tournament world. I don't know, he said you need a relationship with God that you can ask him for things that you love if it ain't gonna hurt you. First time I always prayed just for contentment and safety and to watch over my family when I'm gone. This time I asked him I said, hey, if it's ever your will for us to do good in one of these, I'd like it to be this tournament. If you'd have told us before we left this down here that we'd have caught fish on a ledge, give me a break, man. God put us on them fish within, we just fell on them. I'm telling you, when we went to practice and they stayed there a month, so you tell me. We did have that one fish I told you died. It died within 7 minutes of us catching that fish. We go right back out. We had an hour and a half to fish. He jacks a 132, biggest fish we had all weekend. Go back, he hits that fish in 52 foot. He done sit that jig down there and he sets the hook. He's fighting it. I popped that fish, guys. This fish is sitting up in that live well like we just caught him out of 5 foot of water, wasn't it? I'm talking just swimming straight up. That right there is a God thing. I said, it's been a long time in my life, 45 years old, to understand, to see it. Well, I'm on board.
Cornfield Crappie Gear Live Sweep, Live Image Transducer Control. Deploys and stows with the trolling motor, now mounted on the Tarova trolling motor. Handheld key fob remote with wired pedals or upgrade to wireless pedals. Complete kit with everything to mount onto the Tarova trolling motor at cornfieldcrappiegear.com.
I started fishing when I was little, probably 3, 4 years old, first time I went fishing. Come from a fishing family, dad, uncles, we all cousins, everybody fishes. Grew up in Antioch, Tennessee, which is not far from here, and my best friend moved across the street when we was 13, and we've been friends since we was 8, so it's kind of crazy that years later we'd buy a house and he still lives across the street. I got a wife and 2 kids, so a daughter and a son. They're very supportive. My daughter, she's 14. She loves to go fishing with me. She's my fishing buddy. My son likes to go out there and throw rocks at the lake. You know, it's totally different, 2 different people, but they both have their talents and they both enjoy different things, but we both get to spend time. And yeah, they're very supportive. They like to eat the fish, you know, and they help me clean them, and it's been awesome. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better wife and be supportive in a sport that I like, which a lot of times is a selfish sport because we're kind of taking time away from the family and things we could be doing otherwise. But try to get a good balance on that. I've grown to not overdo it, and I know where I can push and where I can't. So it's been good. She's awesome.
I started fishing when I was 6 years old. There's not a member of my family anywhere that ever fished. No one. But I started with a fruit jar and a biscuit, and I tie a string around the neck of that fruit jar and scoot it out in the water while my mother was on the old wash tub and she used the old washboard. While she was washing clothes, I'd sit there, and when minnows would swim in that jar, I'd try to crank it in before they got away. And if catching a minnow then thrilled me as much as catching a crappie now. So that's how I started my fishing career. And as I grew up, got a little older, I bummed my way to the lake, you know, to go fishing, fish off the bank. Never had much ambition in life. My biggest ambition was someday to own my own boat and motor. I did that in 1968. Got married when I was 18 years old. My wife was 16. We've been married now for 60 years. And greatest catch of my life. Yeah. We've had 2 of the most fantastic boys that you could ever dream of. Yeah. One of them lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and the other lives in Lexington, Kentucky. And they are super, super nice kids. Mike was born in '61, so that would make him 59. He's 59, my other son is 55. There's 4 years difference in them. And God had a hand in that, I'll tell you. We wanted to have children 2 years apart, but it wound up 4 years apart. So like I told my wife, we don't have two in college at the same time. God always knows better. Huh? And so I bass fished then like I crappie fish now. I mean, I lived on the lake at night. It was my God. It kept me away from God. It kept me away from church because I love fishing at nighttime, bass fishing. And I was a pretty good bass fisherman at that too. Fished some tournaments and all. Not doing what I wanted to do. In 1978, I had an accident. Like I left this old world unprepared. Got scared. I got to looking at that word, eternity. And I said, hey, eternity, I know where I would have gone if I had been killed at that time. So I changed my life. I knew that I had to give up something, you know. And so I gave up bass fishing. Loved it. I converted over to crappie fishing. I did crappie fish a little bit then, but I converted to crappie fishing. Do it more probably now than I should do. But I still love to fish, but I can still worship and serve God now. And I use my fishing as a ministry in church because I cook for Meals on Wheels. I take elderly people fish. So many people that are handicapped that love crappie. You know, crappie is about as good a fish you can eat. So I clean them and I give them to people that don't have the privilege to go fishing. Got the like I say, got the most wonderful, understanding wife it's ever been. She told me, she said, I'd give anything in this world if I just had one thing in life that I enjoyed a tenth as much as you do fishing.
Winning the trophy is awesome, but and being with him is the most important thing about the fishing trip. Time is time, right? We don't have many years to fish together, so I know our time is short, and I like to enjoy it anytime I can. We're just blessed to be able to fish a classic. You know, one other thing I ain't told you, we won from that tournament. But ever since that tournament, I've had a guy coming to my Monday night Bible studies from that tournament. That he lives here, and we'd only met through the tournament trail. That's more important than any of the trophies or the boats to me. We try to strive to do what God wants us to do each and every day. We're not perfect. When that guy come over here the first time, he's wanting to know about my fishing, but I give him a little more than that. He's gonna get the fishing second. God first.
There you have it, folks. We hope you enjoyed the 2020 Pro Division Champion Showcase. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Crappie USA. Like and subscribe to our YouTube to see more episodes and stay updated on Crappie USA TV. This episode of Crappie USA TV is brought to you by Cornfield Crappie Gear. Visit them at cornfieldcrappiegear.com.